I learned from Jack the expression love quotient. This is, of course, way back before AI, and this is like 10 years ago. It'll automate tasks that people are doing right now. What are the people going to do? What does he mean?
Right.
What's LQ?
Why now? Why the experience economy now?
So it's very obvious to me 10, 15 years ago that the data was suggesting to me that there had been an ongoing shift, a spending pattern shift in terms of where consumers were spending their money. I looked at many, many data points, and I really became convinced that people were shifting their habits and their spending towards experiences.
Right.
And then the question I asked myself 10 years ago was, well, if more money is going to be spent on experiences, then where is the Amazon of experiences? Or maybe there'll be 5 Amazons of different types of experiences. And where's the Nike of experiences? Where's the Warner Brother of experiences? I think the Maslow hierarchy is a framework that was helpful to me to crystallize an opportunity. But I agree with you. There's clearly a shift in consciousness that is going on.
That the reality that we live in is actually deeply rooted in love, and that's the highest vibratory force in the universe.
Yeah, I do think we are, first of all, humankind is always evolving. So it's not surprising.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Love Conquers Fear podcast. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Taro. We got into a lot of deep spiritual topics, and we're going to touch on spirituality in today's episode. But first, I wanted to just double click a little bit more on the book that I mentioned at the end of that episode, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. There's a really fascinating history around that book. And I can tell you that on Audible, it's the best production book I've listened to. I mean, it literally is better than Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir in terms of the production value of the book. There's lots of voice actors. It really places you in the scene of the protagonist who is on a motorcycle with his son, Chris, and he's having all of these deep conversations about the nature of a reality as he's going through this really kind of rough terrain in Montana. I would just say remote terrain. And it's a very interesting book about him starting to have a recommunion with his soul. And there's lots of metaphors, and I've done a lot of research on that book after reading it on ChatGPT, a lot of research reports, and the history is fascinating. I don't want to spoil any of that for you because you should go and do the research yourself. And I would just really recommend reading that book. It's about a 2.5 hour listen on Audible, so it's a fast one, but it's really profound. And I can tell you that if you've enjoyed the reading list I've been sharing with you on this podcast today, you're going to like this one a lot. And, you know, the title Zen, it'll make you think of Zen Buddhism, but it goes way beyond that. And remember that spirituality, it all sinks at the root. Religious dogma is different than spirituality. We all started from the same place where we're all grasping in the dark at different parts of God, almost like having a blindfold on and grasping at the elephant and trying to figure out what's going on. And I'll never profess to you to understand the true nature of God or consciousness or source or whatever you would like to refer to it as. But I will tell you that my understanding of it and my knowing of it in you know, both meditation as well as psychedelic journeys is that it's deeply, deeply rooted in love. And once you realize that our actual reality is rooted in love, it really transforms the way you live your life, as opposed to this kind of notion of you only live once and, you know, take all you can and make all you can. And, you know, there's nothing beyond this. So the way that that syncs with Gary Zukov and his book, The Seed of the Soul, which Oprah Winfrey credited as one of the most transformative books of her life, is that essentially a lot of our suffering comes from the five sensory human perspective, that there's nothing beyond. And once you start to have that communion with heaven or source and your soul, it really transforms the way you live your life. And if more people had that type of communion, no matter how they got there, then we would have a lot more global unity and a lot more love in this world, because that love that we're actually rooted in would become much more manifest in this lifetime for all of us. And that is exactly what the world needs for us to make it to the age of abundance for all, so that we don't destroy ourselves and continue to suffer in the only five sensory world. So anyways, dive into both of those books. I've mentioned The Seed of the Soul many times before, but I just want to give another shout out to Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. So today I'm really, really excited to have a very good friend. I've known him for a long time, Michael Zeisser, on this podcast. For those of you that have seen episode 4 with Ethan Holland, I originally met Ethan through the shop.org community. And that is, in fact, how I met Michael Zeisser. I'll never forget when I met him. I think I was like 26 years old at that point. I'm 53 now. And I was super impressed with him back then. And he reached out to me a couple of years ago and asked if Deborah and I would become investors in his fund, FMZ Ventures, which is all about the experience economy. And we're going to dig into that. What does the experience economy means? Why is this now the right time for the experience economy? I'm really, really bullish on this fund and very excited to be an investor in it. Yeah, why don't we dive in and just start out with a bit about your background? Like, where did you grow up, and how did your career get to this amazing point, this kind of pinnacle of this fund that I think is going to be one of the all-time best funds?
Well, I'll start even before that by just saying thank you for having me on.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for our friendship. I really cherish it. It's been a long time.
Yeah, like I think I'm very proud, like 25-year friendship.
Yeah,
It's very meaningful.
me too.
And
I feel the same.
yeah, I admire what you're doing now, and obviously feel very blessed for our friendship, our partnership. So yeah, I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah.
Well, the beginning is, as you can tell, some people say they can hear a slight accent.
All right.
Um,
They say that about me too.
is that right?
Sometimes people are like, "Oh, you sound a little bit Texan."
So I sound a little bit French.
Right.
Yeah. So I was born over there in the old world. Come from a loving family, but very modest family. And I am that person in the family who's the first to go to college.
wow.
And yeah, my parents didn't even finish high school.
Wow. I never knew that, Michael.
Yeah.
I know.
So, I mean, I'm that type of person,
Right.
basically. And I discovered America when I went to business school at Kellogg. I know you went to Wharton.
Yeah. I did tour Kellogg. For me, Kellogg was so extroverted. I'm kind of Myers-Briggs type. I'm barely more E than I. And Kellogg felt very E, but it was an amazing, amazing campus and program, and I know it's fantastic. Did it feel very extroverted to you?
I wanted to be in marketing. Like
Okay.
when I was a kid back in France, I was reading all of the biographies of David Ogilvy and the great marketers and the ad men of the 50s. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to
Yeah.
build brands. And so at the time, Kellogg was the school
Yeah.
to study marketing.
Absolutely.
I was lucky because obviously I couldn't afford it. And Procter and Gamble, a company to which I will be forever grateful, basically paid for me. They had a scholarship for uh, good academic performance. They pick 2 internationals every year, and I was lucky to.
Did you know you and I have this in common?
No,
So Deloitte Consulting
paid for yours.
paid for mine, but I never went back. So the way it worked is I had to go back for 3 years for them to forgive the loan.
I
So
begged
I
them.
literally never went back.
I begged Procter and Gamble
Yeah.
to take me, and I said I would be delighted to come to Cincinnati and work for P&G.
Yeah.
And I really would have been. I mean, I went to McKinsey instead, but at the time, P&G had this policy that internationals needed to start their career with P&G in their home country.
Yeah. And I think that's phenomenal. And one of the things I wanted to say is like, I loved Deloitte. I really honor them a lot. Actually, Bob Campbell, who created the federal practice there, wrote the afterword for my first book, The Entrepreneur's Essentials. Um, so me not coming back was not a reflection on them. It was just a reflection that I found my footing as an entrepreneur actually at Wharton, which is the reason I went. And I would have never gotten my MBA had it not been for Deloitte, because nobody in my family had ever gotten their MBA. Lots had gotten their college degrees, but I didn't even know what an MBA was.
Yeah.
Deloitte taught me
Yeah,
what it was.
yeah. Well, basically, McKinsey found me, and I didn't know what consulting was.
Yeah.
And then joined McKinsey in New York, became a partner fairly quickly, and ended up staying at McKinsey 12 years in New York. And this was mid-late 90s through the early 2000s. So the rise of the internet, really, you'll remember.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were there.
Yeah.
First,
Remember the bus too,
the bus.
which was painful.
Yes, but first public IPO of an internet company, Netscape, 1995. So I think you and I are among that generation
Yes.
of executives who've quite literally been there since the beginning. Yeah. So, did a lot of work with media companies, travel companies, financial services companies, because they're in New York, and always on consumer type services and products. So I've spent my entire career working with consumer oriented companies, really.
And tell me about working with John Malone, because one of the things that I was lucky enough to get invited to by you, is where I met Rich Barden of Zillow and a bunch of other amazing people. I mean, he also started Expedia. It was like the Liberty Media
Net leaders.
Net Leaders. Okay, yes, I had forgotten the name, but that was an incredible event, and it was really cool to see John Malone and you speak at that. But I'm just curious, how did you meet him? I mean, not many people have worked for someone like that, and you could tell how much he thought very well of you. And that was a really interesting time because he was buying a lot of these internet companies.
Yeah, so he was my client. He was a McKinsey client, and I had so much admiration, and I still do. I have so much admiration for this man. I think he's a role model. I think he's a great American. He's a great businessman. He's probably the most brilliant person I know, and yeah, it's been a privilege to work for him for about 10 years. I worked for him, and we're still close. And he's also a partner in FMZ, and we do see each other regularly. And yeah, I think the world of John.
What would be if you could say 3 lessons you learned from John Malone, what would the 3 lessons be?
Saying that a lot of people use now is first principles. And really, what you learn working with someone like John is what that really means to apply first principles. So I'm an investor, and so it's very easy sometimes to get caught up in a momentum, whereas a first principle approach to an investment would be to ask the fundamental question, What is the quality of the service or the product that this company actually produces? Do the buyers of this company's goods or services love what the company produces and not get lulled or seduced by metrics that, I mean, you've been in business for a long time too.
Core metrics.
Right, the core metrics. But you know, a savvy entrepreneur can do a lot of things with metrics. And so I would say asking the fundamental questions. And then, of course, the biggest lesson, which is the lesson that he says he learned and he teaches the people who work with him, is to always remember to ask the question, and what if not? So when we make an investment or we make a business decision, we all tend to believe it'll work out and we're all in. And John reminds us to never forget to ask the question, well, if it doesn't work out, then what?
Right.
Does it wipe you out? Are you dead? And if that's the answer, then you should probably rethink the decision.
Yeah. That's a Charlie Mungerism.
I'm
too.
not surprised.
Charlie Munger talks about inversion.
Totally.
You invert
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
So in terms of the best investment you made it.
So then I actually only left Liberty Media because I was appointed chairman of the investment organizations for Alibaba Group. And actually Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba Group, literally hired me to build out, set up an international investment organization, not covering Asia, but covering what the Chinese call the West, and set up a corporate office and prepare Alibaba's a bit before the IPO. So I sometimes joke this, like you can't make this up, that the French guy from the countryside in France is basically running the corporate office of the biggest Chinese internet company on the planet out of Silicon Valley. Like you can't make that stuff up, right?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Jack Ma came from very modest roots.
Very modest roots, but just an extraordinarily inspiring person and someone who had human insights that still stay with me. And I'm very lucky in the sense that I've had the good fortune, the privilege to work with remarkable teachers and to have learned from different things, but to have learned throughout from all of them.
Wow.
Yes.
And you know,
curiosity, I think, is a really important quality.
Yeah. What were some of the top lessons you learned from Jack Ma?
Well, what you're, I think, building on, Jack Ma and Alibaba Group had 18 founders. Like how many tech companies do you know, Brett, that have 18 founders? And
Actually, I don't know of another one.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
Just gonna say
Yeah,
right now.
it's quite remarkable. And I never felt this way, but some people have mentioned the word cult in association with Alibaba Group, maybe in the early days. And there was a camaraderie, a spirit in that company that was just amazing, which I thought was a reflection of the inspiration that Jack himself was able to inculcate throughout the organization. Yeah. A sense of mission, helping China and Alibaba come out of the shadows using this new technology that was the internet. It was, it was very interesting. And this was the period of time when we thought that we could build bridges between the number one and the number two economies on the planet, of
Right.
course, China and the US.
Right. Right.
And, things change. It's the only constant. And unfortunately, today we're not exactly in a place where we're building bridges.
Yeah.
And there seems to be more of a decoupling for, I don't know how long that'll last,
Yeah.
probably a few decades, but.
Yeah, let's get into that later because I want to ask you about that because there was a piece in the New York Times co-written by Craig Mundy that Thomas Friedman put out saying the one thing that the US and China must collaborate on, and actually syncs very well with the book I'm writing, Love Conquers Fear, Humanity, AI, and the Age of Abundance for All, in that they could not afford to not collaborate on AI. That Thomas Friedman and Craig Mundy were like, this is the one thing they must actually work together on. And it is my most concerning part of the trajectory we're on is that we have to overcome this fear-based zero-sum mindset that that is innately in humanity, but part of it is also just the programming that we receive that makes us think that all the time. So I'd love to dig into that as we get into the path to the age of abundance for all, and how do you think we're going to make it? But going back to Jack Ma and John Malone, what were the investments that you helped them make that really stood out in your career that you look back on and you're like, wow, I can't believe we did that.
I mean, as you witnessed at the time, we built under Liberty Media a large, I would say, group of vertical e-commerce companies that I think most people would say was a very successful so-called roll-up in our industry that worked very well. And that would probably be the most meaningful thing that I invested in, that I created.
I was a very early Red Envelope customer, and I loved gifting things to my wife from Red Envelope back in the day. And then with Jack Ma,
Well, the idea of making investments for Alibaba was really to try to build bridges between the economies and help build beachheads in the West. So we made some very interesting investments. I'll highlight one. We invested in Amblin Entertainment, for example, which is Steven Spielberg's production company. And Alibaba is a very big company, like Amazon in many ways, also has a big media division. And so that was an example of an investment whereby we could really bring a lot of that production to China, basically,
right?
and provide resources to the production company
Yeah,
to create its craft.
yeah, very cool. One of my very close friends, who's actually my most successful self-made friend. He manages over $5 billion of capital now. Is Mitchell Green of Lead Edge Capital. I'm going to have him on the podcast. But Mitchell, when he got started with Lead Edge, he worked with Scott Booth of Eastern Advisors, who knows Jack and was an early advisor in Alibaba. And he started Lead Edge. I actually just served as a reference for a new fund. But he started Lead Edge with Bazaar Voice as the first investment,
Oh my.
and it was the first IPO. Guess what the second IPO was?
Given the
Alibaba.
premise of the question.
Yeah, and so a little bit bigger of an IPO. Bizarre Voice went public at over $1 billion market cap. I can't remember the market cap that Alibaba went public with, but it was just a juggernaut.
Yeah.
It is just a juggernaut, I should say.
We raised 25 billion. Yeah.
$25 billion. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he really is like the Jeff Bezos of China. And one of the things that I just want to validate with you, because I don't personally know him, but it seems like he's deeply rooted in love.
Oh, yeah.
And he must have been manifesting that with this team.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the experiences I had recently, because I want to talk about the experience economy, is on Friday night. There was the ACL taping, Austin City Limits, of John Batiste. I'm actually going to another Austin City Limits taping tonight. This band I've never heard of called Role Model. But John Batiste, oh my gosh, I love John Batiste. And he was manifesting so much love from the bandmates. And it was a big band. There were like probably about 18 artists, actually. And in the people we brought, that you could feel it. Like it created this field of love that is very unusual. It reminded me of the Joshua Tree tour back when I was, I think, 18, and the way Bono did that in the audience. It felt like a religious experience. I don't know how to say it any other way. Just a experience where you could feel the connection with everybody in the audience. So it sounds like Jack Ma was very good at that.
Actually, I'll share one anecdote. I learned from Jack the expression love quotient, LQ. I went to many events where he would speak with him, and often, and this is of course way back before AI, and this is like 10 years ago.
Right.
And often people would ask a version of the question, hey, Jack, we see technology is becoming more powerful, can do more things. It'll automate tasks that people are doing right now. What are the people going to do? And he would always say LQ. And the audience would be kind of rattled. What does he mean?
Right.
What's LQ?
Right.
And then he would explain. He would say, well, you know about IQ and EQ, and what humans are going to do more of is LQ, because as the robots will do the things that the robots can do better than the humans will tend to do the things that the humans can do better than the robots.
Right.
And that is to manifest love and to do tasks and activities that require love.
Right.
And so I thought that was very profound, actually.
It is.
And prescient too, relative to where we are today, and even the sort of subject matter at hand.
Yeah, absolutely. That the reality that we live in is actually deeply rooted in love, and that's the highest vibratory force in the universe.
I had never heard a senior industry person talk about LQ or love.
Yeah.
And for him, it was like the most natural thing to say. And there's plenty of clips on YouTube with him where he actually mentions that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really an incredible background for him to go from a school teacher to that, to such an incredible.
And the reality is, this is probably, who knows, right? Steve Jobs talks about the breadcrumbs, and you never really know sort of why you get somewhere, but when you turn around, you see all the breadcrumbs that got you to the place. And so when I had this inspiration really to create the fund and dedicate the fund to the experience economy, I am sure hearing Jack talk about LQ was one of the breadcrumbs that just helped me click and focus on this. Yeah,
that's really cool. Well, let's go into FMZ Ventures and why now? Why the experience economy now?
Well, I've been a student of consumers,
Mhm.
as I said, for let's call it 25 years.
Right.
And maybe as a good Frenchman, I certainly like to think I'm quite Cartesian and quite analytical.
Mhm.
And as a student of business and consumers, it's very obvious to me 10, 15 years ago that the data
Mhm.
was suggesting to me that there had been an ongoing shift, a spending pattern shift
Mhm.
in terms of where consumers were spending their money. And the shift was from things to experiences.
Mhm.
And I found that very intriguing
Right.
because as humans, we are creatures of habit
Mhm.
and we don't tend to change our habits.
Right.
And yet the data was telling me our habits were changing. So this is an anomaly. And I was very curious about that anomaly. And for the longest time, I tried to make sense of it. Now,
Right.
why is this happening? What is going on?
Mhm.
And I looked at many, many data points.
Mhm.
And I really became convinced that people were shifting their habits and their spending towards
Right.
experiences because of the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Mhm.
I went back to that framework, which I'm sure you know
Oh,
well,
yeah.
and the aha moment, if I can call it that I had maybe 10 years ago was when I realized that the way we as consumers meet the needs in the lower levels of that pyramid, I remind you, those needs are food and safety and shelter,
Mhm.
whereas the highest level need is self-actualization.
Self-actualization. Yep.
So the need to feel good about the life we're living, and other high level needs are love and belonging.
Mhm.
The thing that really struck me was that we meet the lower level needs with things, right? We buy groceries for food, we buy homes for shelter, we buy fences or guns for safety, but we cannot meet the higher level needs
Mhm.
with things, right? If we have someone who's not feeling good about where they are in life, and going out and buying the fancy car or the fancy watch is not going to make them feel better
Mhm.
about where they are
Right.
in life. Instead, um, they might take time and they might travel because, as you know, paradoxically, part of why we travel is to find ourselves,
Right.
right? We go far away in the world to find our place in it.
Mhm.
Um, or the person who's not feeling good about where she is might go to therapy,
Right.
of which I'm a huge proponent.
Mhm.
And for certainly the Gen Z generation of our children is completely destigmatized
Right.
relative to certainly our generation and older generations. And of course, travel and therapy are experiences, not things.
Right.
And so I abstracted from these anecdotes sort of a general principle of experiences are the solutions
Mhm.
that people employ to address their higher level needs
Right.
in the Maslow hierarchy. And to me, that was a perfectly plausible and reasonable explanation
Mm.
for why is the spending shifting. Well, the spending's shifting because by and large, the lower level needs, the one we meet with things,
Mhm.
are addressed and resolved. And therefore, as Maslow predicted, these needs are progressive. Once you've met the lower level needs, you tend to the higher level needs. And if
Mhm.
you're able to accept my simple idea that we meet the higher level needs with experiences, it's perfectly plausible. That's why we're seeing spending patterns shift. And then the question I asked myself 10 years ago was, well, if more money is going to be spent on experiences, then where is the Amazon of experiences? Or maybe there be 5 Amazons of different types of experiences. And where's the Nike of experiences? Where's the Warner Brother of experiences? And to me, it felt obvious that these companies would be formed, and I thought I could add value by helping the founders who had those visions for those companies with a little bit of capital, a lot of goodwill, network and relationships, and counsel. And that's really the essence and the genesis for FMZ Ventures.
Yeah. And today, I mean, I love that. And I want to ask you some questions about specifically why you think this is happening. But first of all, just what portfolio companies today are companies that people would recognize that
Yeah, sure.
FMZ is in?
Yeah, I use the anecdotes of travel. So I have a lot of investments in travel. So people might know GetYourGuide, which is the largest marketplace to book tours and activities. If you go to Rome and you want to do a tour of the Vatican, chances are you're going to buy your tickets on GetYourGuide. It's a unicorn company based in Germany, very large company. Another one is called Fever. It's also a marketplace for urban activities, also a unicorn.
Yeah, I told you I had a fever experience recently with
Exactly.
my wife.
Yeah, exactly. Which you said was a nice experience, right? Candlelight concerts, yeah. People may know of Headspace, of course, the meditation, mental health. Mental health is a big area of interest. I've invested in a number of next generation mental health, autism companies. I was lucky to invest relatively early in Reddit, which I always saw as a platform for belonging, for community. This is also the word that Steve Hoffman, the co-founder of and now CEO of Reddit, would use to describe Reddit. I see it as a platform for belonging, but like everyone will know Reddit, for example. Yeah, so I've been very lucky to have invested in quite a few of these companies that have emerged as quite large and quite significant in what I call the experience economy.
Yeah, I took Scott Galloway's advice on Reddit, and I did buy in the IPO.
Good.
And it's been a very good return. Well, we haven't sold any, but if we sold, it'd be a very good return. We continue to hold. But
Some of the other themes that are very interesting to me are learning's very interesting to me. Obviously, very disrupted by AI right now.
enhanced, really, right?
Yeah,
I'd say.
enhanced,
Yeah,
creates more opportunity.
AI, I think, is going to be a massive savior for education. Honestly, it's so funny because our youngest child was the very first to tell her school about ChatGPT.
Oh,
It was
wow.
like within a week or two when it came out, and they immediately banned it. And then her graduation speech from middle school was, "Please don't regulate us to the Stone Ages."
Oh, interesting.
And I think it motivated me. It made me angry enough to write a 3-part series on how AI is going to remake education.
Yeah.
And now, here in Austin, we have Alpha School, and Alpha School is expanding nationwide. And Joe Lamont, one of our famous billionaires in town, is going all in with Alpha School, and it's all being remade around AI.
I think it's wonderful. Yeah, so I think about several categories, kinetic experiences, so real world, atomic world experiences. That's the world of travel and festivals and music. And as you know, we've had an explosion of festivals. You guys are famous here for music, but right now, culinary festivals are all over the place. Kinetic experiences, psychotherapeutic experiences, which I mentioned, Headspace. As you know, I've mentioned this to you, my interest in psychotherapeutic experiences has led me to investigate the world of psychedelics now from an investor perspective. Um, Another category is what I call functional experiences. So that includes learning that we just talked about,
Right.
longevity, generally speaking. I'm very interested in legacy. That includes death care. I think our society's relationship with death is changing. I find that very interesting
Yeah.
from a frankly investment perspective. And then virtual and augmented reality, which I know we're in a winter. I like very much as an investor to invest in the winter. So I think that is an area that is going to offer a lot of interesting opportunities for people and for investors. But those would
Yeah.
be the four broad categories of experiences
Very
that,
cool.
yeah, I'm interested in. Yeah.
So why do you think this is happening outside of the Maslow hierarchy? Like I think there's a bigger reason that it's happening than that. That we're just climbing the Maslow hierarchy and having this self-actualization. Like we talked about this before, but I think there's a consciousness awakening underway. And that leads to people wanting to have more experiences together versus
Absolutely.
just accumulate things in the world of form. You never are happy in just accumulation.
Absolutely. I
As a matter of fact, you can get owned by your accumulations.
Yeah,
And I know people that are billionaires that are literally owned by their accumulations. You can feel poor as a billionaire, believe it or not, because you could have like so many things that you can barely afford, even as a billionaire, that you are owned by your material world.
I think it's Warren Buffett who has the quote, first you own the house and then the house owns you. Yeah.
Right. And he's owned the same house, I think, for like 50
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
You know, I visited him actually in Omaha. It was amazing. I'll never forget this experience. I got to spend 4 hours with him, and we took Ollie the trolley to his house. And his house, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
$450,000 is what
Yeah.
it's worth today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was really shocking to me to see one of the wealthiest people in the world walk out of his home, which is much more modest than my home or most of the homes in Austin. I actually felt a little bit embarrassed, to be honest with you, just being totally honest. And the way he manifests love, I've seen him now at the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders meeting, thanks to Phil Terry, who I also met through
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shop.org community, that it's unbelievable to see him walk the floor to talk with all of the companies that they own, like Brooks, my favorite running shoes. And he is just like a dolphin in water filled with joy. Like he loves being with
He manifests it really.
He
And
does.
I have a lot of friends and partners in the community of Berkshire investors. So I go every year to that meeting.
It's amazing.
I've been going like whatever, 15 to 20 times.
Yeah.
I was there last
that
year.
Harley has passed away,
Yeah.
but it was like Socrates and Plato, but they're capitalist.
Yeah.
Like seeing them on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're philosopher
Yeah,
kings.
they're philosopher kings. Yeah, they're amazing role models, I think.
They
And
really are.
I almost think of it, without being blasphemous, as a pilgrimage. To me,
It
it's
is
like my annual pilgrimage
It is.
to go to, I don't know, some kind of source of wisdom and truth.
No, it's the
And
temple of capitalism, and it's everything, in my opinion, that is beautiful and loving about capitalism,
yeah,
because they really care about their people.
I don't think that capitalism needs to be the enemy of where human evolution
I
is going.
definitely am with you on that.
So I think the Maslow hierarchy is a framework that was helpful to me to crystallize an opportunity. But I agree with you. There's clearly a shift in consciousness that is going on. And some of the reference points or the proof points, you mentioned Oprah.
Mhm.
I think Oprah is amazing.
Yeah.
And what she has done to, you mentioned Gary Zukav. As you know,
The
he's
Seed of the Soul.
right. He is one of her favorite authors, and
Yes.
she has had him on many
Many
times.
times.
As you may know, she has done this series with Eckhart Tolle.
I love his books, by the way.
New Earth is a wonderful book.
Like, wonderful book.
I think everyone who has curiosity or might listen to this and be a little bit like, why are these guys talking about this? Kind of weird to hear these hardcore whatever business people talk about consciousness and love. I think reading New Earth
Yeah.
is so easy to start with,
It's
and
easy to start with, but it must be read slow. It is deeply profound.
deeply profound.
Yeah.
And I was just giving credit to Oprah for having used her influence to share Eckhart Tolle with a broader public. And I see these individual occurrences, Brett, and to me, they form a pattern. As a student, and an observer, I have to say, wow, this is happening, and that is happening, and that other thing. There's something going on here. And yeah, I do think we are, first of all, humankind is always evolving.
Always evolving.
Evolving.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising. How are we evolving now? Where are we going towards? To me, it's obvious. There is a shift in consciousness. Consciousness is arising. It's slow. Boy, there's a long way to go to get to, what do you call it?
The age of abundance.
The age of abundance. But you know what? You have to start. And I think we've definitely started. I am a little surprised. I started the fund and I started this focus on experiences, notably before COVID. Obviously, COVID was a huge accelerant. Personally, I was more hopeful that the world would evolve more after COVID.
I was too.
No one really knows. We lost 20 to 40 million people in COVID. Like WHO, that's the estimate. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
That's almost as many people as died in World War II.
Yeah.
So it's meaningful.
Yeah.
Of course, we're bigger now and so forth. But I think it shook a lot of people to the core. And I do think we are seeing changes in behavior and changes in attitude and an opening of mindset of a lot of people coming out of COVID. Personally, I wish the opening and the change in mindset and attitudes were deeper. But that is definitely an accelerant. And of course, I think AI will be another huge accelerant of this. I think of it as a progression of humanity towards higher consciousness.
Yeah.
And I think companies that stage, distribute, or enable experiences, be they kinetic or functional or psychotherapeutic or virtual, can all be catalytic in this evolution. And so I'm optimistic like you, and I'm really very excited about what I do because I think it's good. Like I think what I do and who I try to help and how I try to help them is fundamentally aligned with the sort of big picture, right?
Yeah.
That's why I went, in my way. You talk a lot about being all in on the field, and sort of I'm doing it in a different way, but I think we're maybe walking in a similar direction.
Oh, we're definitely walking in a similar direction. I mean, that's why I wanted to have you on, because you're bringing a very different perspective than I am, but it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all trying to help humanity transcend into this beautiful age, this metaphorical or mystical age of heaven and earth merging. Um,
I'm
and
I'm
I view it as both metaphorical and mystical.
Yes, yes. I'm also trying to make some money doing
Of
it.
course, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, money is energy, and the best use of money outside of meeting your needs to live, have food, water, etc., shelter, is to use it to have amazing experiences together
Yeah,
that you'll never forget,
yeah.
and to manifest love with each other and deep, deep connection. And one of the books that I'm reading right now, I always read multiple books at the same time, but this one is really, really good. It really struck me because, today is the second anniversary of October 7th. This will air later. Um, and it was deeply shattering to me as a Jewish guy that day, the worst day since the Holocaust for Jews and for Israel in particular. And just, I had nightmares for months afterwards.
I'm
But
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's hard because, we as a Jewish population, we're 16 million today. That is the same population we had pre-Holocaust. Like, a lot of people don't realize that. And we're in a very challenging time for Judaism overall. But I was really struck on Rosh Hashanah um, with a sermon by Rabbi Brous. A friend sent it to me, and she's very clear-eyed about the situation in Israel and Gaza, and it's a great, great sermon. I can add it to the show notes for people that want to listen to it. But it turned me on to, well, actually, her book was suggested to me before, but it made me start to prioritize reading her book, and it's called The Amen Effect. And one of the things that Rabbi Brous talks about in The Amen Effect is that period of COVID was such a dark place of suffering for so many people because we isolated ourselves from each other. And we did that for good reason, right? We saw the body bags lined up in Italy, in Wuhan. I mean, literally lined up, waiting to be, like putting in freezers. I mean, horrific. I think the first strain of COVID was really bad. I was at a wedding. My wife and I were at a wedding here in Austin in December, right before COVID started,
19. Yeah.
with a very famous person. I probably shouldn't mention their name, but someone that is as fit as you and I am right now.
Well, thanks for calling me
And
fit.
you are fit. And he got the first wave of COVID, and he almost died. He was in the hospital with a ventilator, and it really shook me strongly, because I was like, wow, if he could get it, it doesn't matter how physically fit. And I know that we found out later through data there were these comorbidities, et cetera, but that doesn't excuse it. We're still talking about human beings.
No,
Like,
no, and
we're
that's
just
that's
talking
why
about
that's
human
why I
beings.
said I think COVID was a traumatic transformational event.
Yeah.
I mentioned the count of death earlier
Hmm.
to highlight the magnitude, but yes, that's exactly what a lot of people experience: the isolation, the
Yeah.
fact that really life really is quite ephemeral,
Hmm.
and we don't have a control, and we forget to tell our loved ones how much we love them because we're kind of in this rut all the time. And I do think a lot of people were shaken up by this. Yeah.
Shaken up, and almost like a pattern interrupt to remind us of what actually matters the most in life is the connection and love that we express with each other.
Yeah.
That it all connects to the books I've read, which is essentially led me to this place, as well as my psychedelic journeys, that we are in an earth school right now.
Hmm.
And our actual reality, whether you want to call that heaven or source or wherever, our souls are, is deeply rooted in love,
Mhm.
and that we're here to manifest that expansion of consciousness, that expansion of love,
Mhm.
and that expansion of connection with each other. And I think there's a greater purpose behind you doing this fund
Mhm.
for FMZ. And there's nothing at all wrong with capitalism in terms of manifesting great returns, et cetera. Um, but there's a deeper purpose, I think, that you're working
Yeah,
towards,
for
which I think is beautiful.
for
And it
me.
makes me even more proud to be involved in
Oh,
it,
well,
honestly, it
thank
really
you for
does.
yeah, thanks for saying
Because if you can
that.
make money and do good,
Yeah,
that's an
that's
incredible
that's
combination. And you know it's gonna transform society.
yeah, and then for me personally to feel like this is in alignment
Mhm.
with who I am,
Yeah.
my
Yep.
calling, I would never dare compare myself in any way to Warren Buffett,
Mhm.
but I too like run to work, so to speak, every
All right.
day. I'm
All right.
super happy to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I can feel the energy that stems from this alignment.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that the most attractive thing to me with Warren Buffett, it was actually a story I told on Carla Sublet's podcast, which we re-aired here for episode 7. Um, and I'll just never forget this story. I mean, I'll tell you 2 quick stories about him because I want to be as much like him as possible. I'll just say,
Yeah, good.
and it's because of how rooted he is in love. Story number 1. Do you remember Sam Taylor in the Shop Over
Of
community?
course.
Okay, so Sam Taylor very tragically passed away from brain cancer. Beautiful, beautiful family. I served on the board of directors with him of Shop.org. He was an amazing person. Like Phil Terry and I both agree Sam is one of the greatest guys to ever live. Well, I'm at the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders meeting. Phil was hosting a group of leaders, including me, to learn from these CEOs. And one of them was Sam Taylor, and his company, Oriental Trading, had been bought by Warren Buffett just recently. And I asked Sam, who had talked about the transition from private equity to Warren Buffett ownership by Berkshire Hathaway. I asked him for more detail on how that felt for him and his employees, and he started crying. I'll never forget it. And I thought, "Oh, no, what have I done?" Right? Because as men, like, we're not supposed to cry, right? I thought, "Oh, no." Like, I'm getting one of my best friends here
In public.
to cry in front of, like, 80 people. And I thought and I felt, like, this shame, like, but it was really beautiful. I'm actually tearing up just telling you this, remembering this, because he was such a beautiful soul. And he said, "I want you to know," he said, "we were really suffering under private equity, like really suffering. Like they did not care about any of our employees at all."
Yeah, I know the story. Yeah, that
Yes.
was bad.
And
Yeah.
and he said, Warren, when he bought the company, he would come and visit us so often and honestly would just manifest deep love and connection for every employee at Oriental Trading. And it just lifted everybody up. And Sam Taylor was the definition of love, for sure. I mean, Sam would manifest love. He was like just flowing around shop.org, just maybe as extroverted as the most extroverted at Kellogg, right? And he was just manifesting that. Second story, I'm with him for for this event I was telling you about, where we picked him up and went to a country club and spent 4 hours with him. And he had this time during the financial crisis, where this was in 2008, 2009. And Lehman Brothers had gone out of business. You remember this period very
Oh,
well.
yeah.
And it looked like capitalism was about to go off a cliff.
In a bad place.
We were about to go into another Great Depression, if something didn't happen to save it. And he gets a call from the CEO of Goldman Sachs. He's at Dairy Queen with, I think it was his granddaughter, or maybe great granddaughter. And he says, "I know why you're calling. I'm at Dairy Queen right now having ice cream with her, and I'll call you back in 20 minutes. He finishes up the ice cream. He takes his time, but he does call him back at the 20-minute mark. He calls him back and he agrees to do a $10 billion loan for Goldman Sachs, and it takes him about 10 minutes
Yeah.
to make the decision.
Yeah.
Now, why is that possible? Okay, first of all, he reads for over 4 hours every day. So he already knows the numbers. He knows why the CEO is calling. Secondly, he knows their capabilities and he believes in America. He knows that this is going to turn out really well. Third, he has the presence to continue to spend the time with his great-granddaughter. I mean, how many people do that? Like they would, maybe just interrupt, leave their family. Sorry, this is more important, et cetera. Like he knows what actually matters. And he's, I mean, it's just an incredible story. So it tells you everything you need to know. He's deeply rooted in love. He knows what matters. He's prepared. And then the very interesting thing after he did that deal was to see how much he was mocked on CNBC. He was mocked all over the place. Like people are like, the old man has literally lost his mind. Like he's off his rocker. And he, during that period, and Jamie Dimon were my two favorite people, because you may remember Jamie Dimon was on, the CEO of JP Morgan, long time now. He was on CNBC and these other places saying, get out of the bunker, go and visit your customers, go and do capitalism. And they both deeply believed in America. And in hindsight, like Warren Buffett helped save capitalism,
For sure.
but he still had his ice cream with him.
Yeah. No, it's a wonderful story. The only thing I would say is I would have been this guy who might have told my daughter, you
Right,
know
right.
what, I have this really important call
Right.
and I'm going to step out into the parking lot. Why
Right.
don't you finish the ice cream? So
Right. No, I agree. And like I understand that and I agree. And there have been times in my life where I have been that person.
you would have walked into the parking lot too. Yeah.
I'm not proud of that. I'm saying that I would aspire to always be like him. I think I am more that person today than I was, but I mean, what a role model.
But I think, Brett, that's part of the Earth School. No,
Yes, it is.
that is part of the evolution.
It is.
You are a better person today for having at some point walked into the parking lot and then at some other point reflected on the experience and learned from it and grown from it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. No, totally. And
That's the journey. That's really
that is the journey.
that is the journey.
Yeah, that's the journey. I mean, I became the CEO so young. I became the CEO at age 24 that when I watched that TV show, Silicon Valley, with my wife,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
was Richard Hendricks. I was throwing up in the trash can. Like, I really did not know what I was doing at all. I was like reading literally hundreds of books on management and leadership, just trying to like stay above water. And that was where I really found my leadership style. And I decided that I wasn't going to lead by fear, that I was going to lead by love. And it was an explicit choice because both work, but leading by fear creates a lot of toxicity in you and other people. And it is actually antithetical to what we talked about, the most important vibratory force in the universe, to really honor that the reality we're in is deeply rooted in love. So to fight that and then use fear to try to scare people is antithetical to our actual reality and will actually cause the leader to suffer.
I totally agree. I actually think a lot about inspiration and curiosity. You may know, what is it that Socrates said? Wonder is the beginning of wisdom. And I think a lot about my companies. I think a lot about experiences, of course, and how can experiences add value to people. And I think a lot about inspiration. Actually, I think a lot about inspiration, connection, and agency. So
Yeah.
I really look for companies that create one of those three benefits: inspiration, connections, or agency for people.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's fundamental. And if I find companies that achieve that kind of benefit with their users, I find that very intriguing. I think fundamentally that's what people are looking for right now, at least here
Yeah.
in the Western world. Right, you talk about your driver from Chad in every episode, and obviously the tragedy that's occurring in the Ukraine right now or the Middle East. They're not looking for inspiration, connection, and agency right now. They're looking for survival.
Right.
But in our Western developed societies, where the companies I'm looking for and I'm investing in exists, I think that those are the things that people are really looking for.
Yeah.
And I think that's the path to progression, to human progression, and to more shifts in consciousness, actually.
So I want to shift. Let's shift to really the whole thesis of this podcast is around humanity making it to this age of abundance for all. And I view this as God's final exam for humanity. I know that sounds very heavy and it sounds like I'm operating from a place of fear, but I'm really not. I'm operating from a deep place of love for all of humanity. We're genetically 99.9% the same. And the biggest risk in the acceleration underway with AI, quantum computing, robotics, brain-computer interfaces. I mean, technologies that literally we grew up watching Star Trek and they're happening now that, are mind-blowing, that, every week of tech progress to me right now feels like a year of tech progress a decade ago. I mean, it's just very hard to even keep up with. And I'm sure 10 years from now, like an hour or two is going to feel like a week today.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
feels like a year 10 years ago. And it's amazing time for you and I to be alive, to see this,
Yeah, yeah, for everyone.
for everybody. And I do mean abundance for all, like the story I've told many times about Chad, that what hope does a place like Chad have that is at $660 of GDP per person? It has to be AI and robots, because capitalistically, nobody is going to go into a place like Chad. I mean, you may have someone like Bill Gates go in and he's doing a lot to cure malaria, and that's great. But really, for the people of Chad to have an oasis, it's going to take something much more profound. And that profoundness, I think, is the ability for us to manifest energy from the sun and the material sciences breakthrough. We talked about the Maslow hierarchy. My friend Pablis Holman, who's going to be on this podcast, came out with an amazing book called Deep Future. Recently, I wrote a very long review and distillation of that on my Substack and Medium. And he says, actually, you should put energy at the very bottom of before food. It all starts with energy. And 18 seconds of the sun's energy
Fair.
power the world
Fair.
for years, right? And so I'm just curious, as you think about the acceleration underway, which is the most pronounced in our lifetime and is only going to get more and more pronounced, if you believe that we can reach this age of abundance for all.
I do believe that we can reach an age of abundance. I do think it's going to take longer than you think. And I do think it's going to be very bumpy at different times. And I am a little concerned it's going to be pretty bumpy in the short term.
Yeah, and I am too. And I'm writing about that in my third book here, about how bumpy it could be, because people right now are just freaking out on the fact that there's this real focus on efficiency, and that's going to lead to job loss. But you can never predict like all the jobs that are going to be created out of anything. Like when the internet came along, nobody could have invented all the new jobs that would be created
True.
as a result. And part of my thesis is there's going to be billions of new products and services that are personalized that we can't imagine today.
True.
I mean, I think that the barrier to creativity is shattering right now.
And I agree with that, but if I would put this against a time scale, we're 30 years into the internet. So, and as you alluded to earlier, we had a huge bump, maybe whatever, 5, 8, 10 years into the internet in 2000 and 2001.
Yeah.
So everything is going faster, everything is accelerating. So maybe we'll have this bump or the first bump here sooner than we had it back then. But it takes a long time.
Right.
And human nature really does not change quickly and easily.
Yeah.
So that's why I think overall it'll take longer, I think, to get the benefits for all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, human nature, I think, needs catalyst
Yes.
along the way. And, we touched on the Holocaust, and the Holocaust was horrible. I never want a Holocaust. But it was a catalyst. It was a catalyst for people becoming, it's taught all over the world as a never again. It was a catalyst for us to realize how bad it could get with authoritarian figures. And it's taught many times as this is what can happen. And who knows how much it prevented since in terms of people getting to a similar
For
point.
sure. For sure.
But I will tell you, Michael, that, one of the things guilty as charged about me as an entrepreneur is I have always been able to envision the future faster than it's happened. I mean, and that comes from something I share with a lot of my entrepreneurial friends, fellow CEOs, that we all grew up reading sci-fi and we all could see, that this was a future that was going to happen. And I really favor people more like Asimov, that we're talking more about positive visions of the future versus the dystopian narrative, which I think that dystopian narrative in sci-fi largely comes from science fiction writers who are completely captured in the world of form and probably very atheistic as well. But I will tell you one thing. I actually think this time my timeline might be right because the acceleration is so pronounced. I mean, it's so pronounced, as of this recording, OpenAI just had their development day. What they're now manifesting in terms of development speed is unprecedented. And they haven't even hit the 3-year anniversary of ChatGPT. That's November 30th of this year, that it'll be 3 years since ChatGPT launched. I've never seen anything like that.
No, I totally agree. It's like whatever 21st version, forgive me, 21st century version of electricity, power of 10, basically.
Right.
And much accelerated, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with the idea of catalytic events to change trajectories, which is why I said I'm surprised that COVID has not had more of an impact. You remember back in 2021, how many thousands of companies had let go of their offices and were basically declaring the new era, and now it's remote work from forever, and basically none of that, or very, very little of that, remains. It's just one anecdote of something that we thought would be a big change,
Right.
and then human nature is such that no, it's basically reverted to trend line. So
Yeah. I think that's a very good point, and that I think that's a good thing, by the way, because
in that case too,
I think that is we needed to stop isolating. I mean, we need to get to a point where we have the vaccines, et cetera, but we need to get back to being human. Like what you and I are doing here is way better than if you and I were on a Zoom right now. You know, it's like it's a much, much higher fidelity experience, and you know, it's a sensory experience, and it's like the concert I went to, the ACL taping of John Batiste. Like watching that versus being there, it's just totally different ballgame. So it sounds like you're pretty positive we make it just longer
Yeah.
timeline.
And I sincerely believe in this idea of the emergence of a new economic sector, which of course I call the experience economy. And when I agree, of course, the data says whenever we have had a technology shift, a lot of jobs have been lost and more jobs have been created. Of course, that is true. It's not clear what these new jobs will be that will be created
Right.
when the people on the factory floor are replaced by robots and all of the lower level service people are replaced by algorithms. So I'm not sure that new jobs will be created in those sectors, but I am a big believer that new jobs will be created in what I call the experience economy, where humans can find some of the solutions that they're looking to address this new category of needs that Maslow captures at the top of his pyramid, or I capture when I talk about inspiration,
Right.
connection, and agency. So,
Right.
but I may be wrong, by the way, but I am a believer in, and I believe that it's this new sector that is going to create the jobs.
Yeah, I completely agree, because with complete abundance, when I'm talking about we've cracked energy, at that point, the main thing humanity cares about is experiences. I mean, I think if you and I could teleport to 100 years from now,
We'd do it.
well,
I'd do.
I would definitely do it for sure. I would do it to like see what's going on.
I mean, you'd want to have a return ticket, right?
Yes, I'd want to have a return ticket, but I believe we would look at those people as gods today. I really do. I think if we could go 100 years in the future, they would have unbelievable superpowers that you and I couldn't even fathom. And they probably would have conquered faster and light speed travel. They would know what the 96% of the universe is that we call dark energy and dark matter. They would know how to navigate that. They would probably be able to manifest, you know, the creation of objects. Like it would look like it was magic to you. All technology, right?
Yeah.
Looks like magic
Yeah.
at the beginning.
It might even be simpler than that, Brett. You know Naval Ravikant, and he has.
I don't personally know him, but
Yeah, I don't
I
know
know
him well.
of-
I know him a little bit, but he has this wonderful
he's the
saying.
founder of AngelList.
Yes, exactly, and now kind of a whatever tech
He
philosopher.
is a philosopher. Yeah, he's a great philosopher, actually.
And he talks about three things that have to be earned, right, and cannot be acquired. He talks about, I will get the exact words wrong, but peace of mind, a healthy body, a loving house are three things that can only be earned. And I think about this, and I think about your concept of the Earth School, and I think about people, us, in this post-AI world, what might we strive for? That sounds pretty good to me. Peace of mind, a loving house, a healthy body. And since it can only be earned, what are the activities that people will engage in to earn these benefits? And so this is much more, I think, in the here and now,
Right.
and not about necessarily having amazing new technological opportunities like teleportation and time travel and so forth.
Mhm.
Peace of mind,
Mm.
loving house,
Right.
healthy body. Oh, like who wouldn't want this?
Yeah.
And most of us don't have that.
Yeah.
And so if the experience economy and the companies in the experience economy and the people who are going to be retrained to apply their craft in the experience economy help the rest of us achieve these kinds of benefits, I think that'd be wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's going to happen. And one of the most instructive books on this, and I just want to preface it because I prefaced this in episode 1 that I would never do what I'm about to say. Um, but it's this book called LSD and the Mind of the Universe. And it's by this guy, Chris Bosch. And you can think of him like the people that open up the Drake passage. Okay.
That's the guy who took 600
Yeah, so he
milligrams
took
for over 20
600
years.
micrograms of
Micrograms.
LSD, which is the most you can take. It's like a complete ego dissolution. You just merge into consciousness. You see that there's the unity of all things. Everything's deeply rooted in love. John Mackey talks about it actually in the first chapter of his book, The Whole Story, his tell-all. And it was what allowed him to get over his fear to launch Whole Foods. He's one of my best friends and wrote the foreword to my book, The Entrepreneur's Essentials. And Chris Bosch did this for 20 years.
In secret.
He did, yeah, in secret. He was a professor. And he said he felt like a fraud because his students were having different psychedelic experiences and telling him, hey, I've seen this reality and I want to talk with you about it. And he's like acting like he doesn't know anything about that. So he said that was the worst part about it for him, is that he couldn't be authentic with his own students. But he did this for 20 years and he did 73 journeys because he was willing to die for the answer of what is our reality. And one of the things he saw, this is in chapters 9 through 11 of the book. I've reread these chapters like 3 times at this point. I've read the whole book. I highly recommend the whole book. Is that we're in an evolutionary shift. And actually, the birth of the future human, as he saw it, and the diamond soul, is that our physical vessels become much more embodied, not just with our knowings and learnings of this lifetime in Earth School, but all the learnings that our soul has had across all lifetimes. And that gives us this transcendent ability, which also sounds really good because we're talking about each person having intimate knowledge about all the lessons they've learned across all their lifetimes. And then the way that causes people to interact in this birth of the future human is they care much more about the planet. They care much more about each other. They're the embodiment of more love. And the more embodied you get in your physical vessel with your soul, the more loving you actually naturally become. So maybe that's the future. You know, we'll see. But it's amazing that it's happening in this lifetime. What are the risks that you worry about to us making it?
Well, in the short term, the bumps are going to be, I think, significant job losses. And we already, as a society, speaking at least for North America, are at, I think, historically record high rates of anxiety and depression. And I think that's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And obviously, we have meaningful polarization and people being very angry at one another and political divisiveness. So we may go or have to go through a period first, which I think could be quite a few years, where it gets worse before it gets better.
Right.
That would be That would be my fear. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the ways that I'm kind of putting one foot in, out and then another foot and trying to walk the path myself on this front is a part of the reason I think that that fear is so manifest right now is because of tools like social media. I think that Tristan Harris had it right in The Social Dilemma. It is both a utopia and a dystopia. But the algorithms are very dystopian because they're trying to hijack our amygdala all the time. So one of the companies I'm involved with is Lincoln Brown's company, which I've
Yeah.
talked with you
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
And it really is algorithmically seeking deep human connection and happiness versus trying to hijack the amygdala.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of light, right? That there are new business models that are being created to be challengers to the fact that we're manifesting more suffering to, as Jason Karp would say in episode 3, put, profits over people.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are all people. We're having an experience as humanity, and we want that deep connection. And we have the free will to either create the Matrix. The Matrix movie is not. I don't believe that's our reality at all. But the self-created prison that we've created around social media, the regular media, and this is not a critique of the free press. It's a critique of the algorithmic manipulation of our amygdala.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I just sat back and I just received the news, it would be pushing dystopia to me.
Mm-hmm.
It would be trying to enrage me all the
Mm-hmm.
time because that is going to get more clicks than if they push the latest potential climate change breakthrough.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my opinion is 50 or so years from now, people will look back at our time in the past 10 years and they will say, we cannot believe how reckless they were back
Right.
then in terms of consuming this,
Mhm.
letting their kids consume this, not having the guardrails or any guardrails around this. So I, for sure, agree with your analysis
Yeah.
of social media and what it's done. Yeah.
Yeah. And I typically ask people, what are they doing to make sure we make it? But I think it's pretty obvious with your fund.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious that you're really helping us make it by putting a lot more attention into experiences which create deep human connection and love.
It's the three things I mentioned:
Yes.
inspiration, connection, and agency. I'm really big on personal agency. I do think part of personal growth is to accept responsibility for your actions, for what happens to you, for how you react to what happens to you, and get out of the victimhood mindset.
Right.
So that's all part of what someone needs to be inspired to do, like earning these three things that Naval talks about, the healthy body, the peace of mind, and the loving house. You have to work at it. Like, no, you don't deserve this. Be nice. No, you're not entitled to it. No, if you don't have it, it's not because the world is unfair to you. No, that's the whole point. Which is why I like your idea of Earth School. You have to earn it. How are you going to change? I don't know who said it. If you want to change the world, change yourself. That's a lesson in and of itself.
Yes.
Like, how many people understand, if I want to change the world, I need to change myself, the meaning of this and so forth. So
Right.
yeah, those are, I think, important lessons. And if we can create companies and founders who stage or distribute experiences that inspire people to do this, like the podcast, what you're doing here with your time, there's plenty of other things you could be doing, but you are trying to interest people to open their curiosity and say, oh, I kind of hear this, and something catches my attention in what is said in this or in the other podcasts, and hopefully people will be inspired to dig a little deeper and learn a little bit more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the health person.
That's how it works. I mean, that's
Yes,
how
absolutely.
change happens,
Yeah.
which is why I believe that it'll take time. We talk about a shift in consciousness. We talk about the impact on the mass market that someone like Oprah has, but still, how many people is it? So
Yeah.
we have a ways to go before it's whatever, 80% before we reach the tipping point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, Oprah is now openly talking about psychedelics. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not
And
know that.
so is Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
Actually, which Mel Robbins has had a massive takeoff. I mean, her popularity, with the let them theory, et cetera. I mean, she is becoming one of the most popular of all time. Let's talk about spirituality. Do you mind if we talk about spirituality? Tell me a bit about your spirituality and your belief, and what is this reality that we're in?
Well, I do think I'm a very intuitive person, and I feel like I've had a spiritual calling for a very long time. And I don't know about organized religions, but I definitely believe that there is one consciousness. And I definitely believe that there is a oneness among all of us, frankly. So I believe there is a universe. I believe we have purpose. And I think that this is something that transcends organized religion.
Yeah. And one of the things that we talked about a bit before this at lunch is that the roots of all of the religions actually have really good synchronicity.
Exactly.
Whether it's the Bhagavad Gita, whether it's the Tao Te Ching, whether it's Buddhism or Hinduism or I mean, I'm Jewish, or Kabbalah or ancient Christianity, the Christian mystics, it all synchronizes. And then there's a bunch of primarily man-made scaffolding that was built on top of it. Like I've talked with a lot of my Indian American friends, which actually in all the different minorities in America, those are the most successful financially.
Yeah.
The most successful minorities are actually Indian Americans. And I say, I love the Gita, but it starts with the caste system.
Yeah.
And there's no way that is something that would be rooted in love. Like sorry, Michael, you're born in this caste and you can't.
Too bad.
Yeah, too bad. Right.
No, these scaffoldings are largely power structures.
Right.
And they are, I think, a manifestation, unfortunately, of human nature at its level of maturity at the time, basically.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason. I actually think that there is a spiritual awakening or a consciousness awakening, both are the same, that is underway in the world. Because this time really matters. Like it's one of those times where with great power comes great responsibility, and the ability for us to manifest an age of abundance, which literally is for everyone, versus destroy ourselves, has never been more pronounced than it's going to be. We're going to have super tools that we can't even imagine today. And every tool can be used for good or bad. Like when we discovered fire, we could use it to cook our food and warm our homes, or we could use it to burn down villages.
Yeah, and we've done both.
And we have done both.
I agree with you. The data is very clear. There's clearly a religious revival going on. And What's I think inspiring about it is it's young people. Gen Z are actually going back to synagogue, are going back to churches in large numbers, and it's quite remarkable. And uh, no one has an easy explanation. I mean, you and I probably have the most plausible explanation, which is shifting consciousness. People are looking for more spiritual nourishment, and these are these observations of religious renewal, frankly, psychedelic renaissance. They're all breadcrumbs, as we said earlier, that kind of seem to indicate a pattern going in the same direction.
Yeah.
This should make us quite optimistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you on the psychedelic front that when I had dinner with Governor Perry when he was our governor at the mansion, at the governor's mansion, I'm sitting right next to him. And I would have never thought in a million years that I'd be hosting him at our home for the Americans for Ibogaine initiative. But it's incredible that he's become this avatar for this suffering of veterans, which the statistics are pretty shocking. We just fact checked this for the book because I've always said that we lose more veterans to suicide than we do to combat. It's actually over a period of time since 9/11, it's 4 to 1. We've lost 4 times as many vets to suicide
That's tragic.
as we have to combat.
Yeah.
And this plant, the boga plant, which grows in West Africa, literally is a miracle cure for someone who has that level of suffering. Ibogaine is the chemical composition. The reason it's important to have the chemical composition is that dosing is very important with it. I've never taken Ibogaine. I don't have the type of PTSD that would require something like that. But the fact that it cures an opiate addict or cures an alcoholic or cures someone that's suicidal is amazing. I mean, and the fact that it works that way, and that we should have the scientific curiosity to understand why does this reset button, why does this even exist compared to the efficacy of something like a depression medicine?
I am very interested in this psychedelic renaissance from a investor perspective. There's obviously, I mean, first of all, as you know, most of these compounds today are Schedule 1, so they're basically illegal except for in clinical trials. But the profession already talks about this and calls it experiential medicine. So of course, the guy who's interested in the experience economy pays attention to experiential medicine. And I mean, it's obvious and clear, self-evident how the delivery mechanism of this experiential medicine is very different from the delivery mechanism of traditional medicine, right?
Yeah.
Here is a prescription, go to the pharmacy, or here's a pill. This is very different. So we need different facilities, we need different technologies, we need a lot of new things to enable this experiential medicine or these experiential medicine treatments that new companies, potentially venture-backed companies, are being created to provide and so forth.
Yeah. And one of the things that I believe in terms of this consciousness awakening and this root of spirituality and the commonality is that these are actually some of the oldest technologies. These have been around for they've been used for many thousands of years. And again, for people watching this, if they have a curiosity, they should watch How to Change Your Mind on Netflix or read Michael Pollan's book. It's really amazing, like to understand the history of why did these get classified as Schedule 1 in the first place. Is a really fascinating history.
It's actually really interesting to watch. It's a very interesting, it's a 4-part documentary, very relatively short, but it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it really is. Well, hey, I really, really appreciate this, my friend. I really appreciate and honor our friendship, and thank you so much for allowing me to be in your fund. I think it's going to do incredibly well. I mean, it's on thesis for all the reasons you said, but I actually think it's the manifestation of this consciousness awakening too. It's part of it.
It very much aligned with it and part of it. And thanks for having me. And I'm grateful for, I didn't realize this is a 25-year-old
know.
friendship. Yeah. And so it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like we're so lucky to have that. Yeah.
Yeah. I have less hair, but it looks like you have the same amount of hair
Thank
as
you.
even back then.
I have good hair.
Well, I really appreciate our friendship.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Great to see you, Brett.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Love Conquers Fear. The next episode is also with an incredible investor. I'm recording that coming up here. And then the podcast is actually hitting the road. So I'm going to be in New York City. I'm speaking at the Principled Business Summit, which by the time you see this, I'll have already done that. But I'm going to have lots of people on the podcast in New York City. Then I'm going to San Francisco and I'll be at TED AI, and we'll have a number of incredible people, including one of my favorite investors on the podcast out there. Thanks again for tuning in, and keep the comments flowing in. It's really lifting my spirit seeing all the amazing feedback you have about the podcast. It's pretty unique. I don't know any other AI podcast which is talking about spirituality and consciousness, and I'm just living my truth and walking my path to really try the best way I can to help humanity make it to this new age that I think we all deserve to be a part of. So thank you, and I really appreciate all the support.